Where does most of our plastic go? Well, here's the thing. Some of our plastic goes into arguably useful items such as this Lego Lamborghini or the bumper of your mom's car. Other plastics, known as single-use plastics, are things such as this doggy bag, this Gatorade bottle, or this bag of arugula. These are single-use plastics. Regardless of the intended purpose of the plastic, a lot of plastic ends up in these big piles called landfill. However, the name is kind of a lie. Not all trash ends up on the land. In fact, 11 million metric tons of plastic enter our oceans every year. That's on top of the 200 million metric tons that already circulate through our marine environments, according to oceanconservancy.org. So, how is plastics polluting our ocean a social justice issue? Due to our high production rates of plastic, our constant use and waste of plastic, and the inevitable pollution that comes from that, humans are suffering specifically in coastal villages, in rural and less developed areas. So let's learn a bit more about how plastic pollution in our oceans affect all humans. I've cultivated a list of 4 negative effects of plastics in our ocean. These are just the main effects. There are so many more, but these are the ones that are most important for today's topic. Microplastics in the water that we drink, disruption of fishing villages, poisoning, and compromised food sources. Let's start by talking about microplastics. This doggy bag is not a microplastic. Microplastics make their way into a ton of our water systems. According to the Ocean Cleanup, in an experiment they ran on mice, microplastics can actually pass through the brain-blood barrier at about 2 hours after consumption.
This is a terrifying thought.
In a research book known as Science of the Total Environment, we learn the causes of microplastic in the brain. It can potentially lead to chronic toxicity, carcinogenicity, and developmental toxicity, or in English, fatal poisoning, cancer, and alterations to the natural growth cycle of your body. The pollution of plastics in our ocean is the leading cause for these microplastics getting into our water, our swimming areas, and just the ocean in general. What's the next main effect of plastics polluting our oceans? It disrupts fishing villages. In fishing villages across the world, these include places like Brazil, Ethiopia, Fiji, and India. Also many coastal places in Africa, such as Cameroon. Plastic pollution is disrupting the amount of fish that these fishermen can catch. It is destroying occupations, livelihoods, and economies of small fishing villages that rely on the fish for their economic status. Fishermen are dragging in fish that are killed by plastic pollution, or just dragging in a bunch of plastic bags themselves. In an interview sponsored by Morgan Stanley, Victoria Kwakwa, the World Bank's regional vice president for East Asia and the Pacific, speaks to plastic pollution's effects on underdeveloped communities. I have seen instances where fishermen are coming in with their catch. A lot of it is plastic bags instead of fish. It's impacting their ability to earn incomes, feed themselves, children drop out of school. Ultimately, health is also impacted and their climate vulnerability is increased. While we in the classroom rarely find ourselves biting into a piece of salmon and pulling out a piece of plastic, our salmon habitats aren't actually filled with plastics. However, lots of fishing communities around the world are affected. A quote from the Ocean Cleanup states, "Some plastic not only contains harmful additives and chemicals, but also acts as magnets for toxins from the surrounding air or water. So the longer a piece of plastic is out there, the more harmful it can become to anyone that ingests it, any animal, any human." Compromising food sources. Fish and other marine life that serve as the main food source for some of these small communities are dying out, leaving them with no food to eat. Fish is a lot of coastal cities' main source of protein and of food source in general, and when all of these fish are either polluted, poisoned, or dead, unfortunately, this causes a lack of food for the humans in the areas. An interview done by the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Health Academy hosted 2 middle-aged fishermen from Limba, Cameroon. They asked them about the effects of plastic pollution in the water. They responded with, "Sometimes we find plastic waste inside the fish." And they had, quote, "seen uncountable dead fish at seashore caused by plastic waste." Plastic waste therefore disrupts the utilization and consumption of fish in communities that absolutely rely on it. So what is the need? Less humans negatively affected by plastic pollution in our oceans is in fact the need. So how do we remedy this situation? You can donate or volunteer with one of these groups. Our government and major corporations that have a lot of financial backing can start to send aid groups and cleanup crews to these villages and places where plastic pollution is overwhelming humans and other populations. These solutions don't fix everything, but they do start to decrease, or at least don't further, the amount of plastic pollution that is entering our marine systems. This gives a chance for disrupted communities to clean up their areas and get back on their feet. And hopefully, we can make our oceans go from this to this. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today. Go clean an ocean. Something about you makes me feel like a dangerous woman.